You ever seen a dog freeze mid-step, like it just looked straight into the face of a ghost? That's exactly what happened the night a German shepherd named Koda stopped walking, stopped breathing, and locked eyes on something only he seemed to understand. Seconds later, his instincts uncovered a truth so dark it would shake an entire city. Children vanishing, a network hiding in plain sight, and a secret buried in shadows. The courtroom was silent. Dozens of eyes watched as Officer Ethan Cole stood tall in his uniform, one hand resting on the back of his German shepherd, Koda. The judge adjusted his glasses, the jury leaned in, and the air felt heavy with expectation. Ethan's voice was steady, but his eyes carried the weight of what they'd been through. "This dog," he said, pausing to glance at Koda, "saw something none of us did. He stopped a man who was about to disappear with a child, and uncovered something so dark, so calculated, that even seasoned agents couldn't believe it." Koda looked up at Ethan with those piercing amber eyes, tail still, ears alert. The room seemed to lean forward with him. And that's how this story begins. But to understand what happened in that courtroom, you need to know what happened weeks earlier, on an ordinary night in the city of Portland, Oregon. Officer Ethan Cole had been a cop for nearly a decade. He'd seen bar fights turn ugly, car crashes that twisted steel like paper, even standoffs where seconds decided who lived or died. But nothing compared to what his partner Koda uncovered that night. It started simple. A neighborhood patrol, nothing out of the ordinary. Ethan and Koda walked their usual beat past Reed's Grocery, a family-owned market with squeaky carts and fluorescent lights. Shoppers bustled in and out, the smell of baked bread spilling into the cool night air. That's when Koda froze, mid-step, hackles up, chest rumbling low like distant thunder. Ethan followed his gaze. Nothing unusual at first glance. Moms wrangling toddlers, teenagers grabbing frozen pizzas, an older man picking apples. But then Ethan saw him. A man in his late 30s, average build, plaid shirt, baseball cap pulled low. He was carrying a little girl, blonde curls, tiny frame, face buried against his shoulder. She didn't move, didn't squirm, didn't even blink. Koda growled, and then he lunged. Ethan's grip tightened, nearly yanking his arm out of the socket. Shoppers gasped, eggs hit the floor, someone screamed. The man's reaction wasn't calm annoyance, it was panic. He turned sharply, shielding the girl, walking faster, too fast. "Sir," Ethan called out, flashing his badge, "I need to talk with you." The man's reply was clipped, defensive. "I didn't do anything. Get your dog away from me." But Koda wouldn't budge. He was locked on like a missile. The child remained limp, silent, too silent. "Is she okay?" Ethan asked. "She's my niece. She's sick. I'm taking her home." The words tumbled out too quickly, rehearsed. Ethan's gut twisted. "You're not going anywhere yet," Ethan said. "Step outside. Show me some ID." That's when the man bolted. He shoved past a display of oranges, nearly toppled a tower of paper towels, and sprinted down an aisle. "Koda, take him!" The German shepherd launched forward like lightning. Shoppers screamed, carts slammed into shelves, chaos erupted. By the pharmacy aisle, Koda hit the man like a truck, teeth snapping inches from his arm until Ethan cuffed him. The girl sat up slowly, confused but unharmed. Something was wrong. Ethan could feel it in his bones. The man gave his name as Darren Moore. No ID, no record in the system, no driver's license, no social security hit, nothing, like he didn't exist. The girl wouldn't speak, not a word. She sipped a juice box in the break room, eyes blank, teddy bear clutched tight. Ethan tried everything. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Silence. Meanwhile, Koda paced outside the evidence locker, fixated on Darren's jacket. He sniffed, whimpered, pawed, then sat down like a sentry guarding a secret. Ethan cut the lining open. Inside was a folded map, stained and greasy. Several highways marked. One spot circled in red. Silver Pines rest stop. He ran the man's prints again through every database. Nothing. No hits. No identity. It didn't make sense. Until Ethan remembered a case out of Idaho. A toddler named Lily Whitman taken from her grandmother's yard 2 months earlier. Blonde curls, 2 years old. No Amber Alert because custody hadn't been clear. The girl in the break room looked just like her. Ethan sent her photo to the Missing Children's Task Force. Hours later, the call came. "Officer Cole, this isn't just one abduction. Your canine may have stumbled onto something much bigger. By dawn, Ethan and Koda were driving north along I-5 toward Silver Pines. The fog was thick, mountains capped with snow. Koda sat tall in the passenger seat, head low, alert. The rest stop looked deserted. A single pump, rusted picnic tables, an old vending machine that hadn't worked in years. "Koda, find it." The shepherd sniffed, circled, then bolted toward the woods behind the lot. Ethan followed, heart pounding. Fresh tire tracks. Mud displaced. Koda pawed at a pile of leaves until Ethan uncovered a blue plastic wristband. Number 16 printed on it. Not hospital style. Cheaper, like someone was cataloging kids. Back at the station, Ethan spread the evidence out on a board. Photos, wristbands, the greasy map, missing kids' flyers. It clicked. This wasn't random. These kids were being moved like shipments. Darren wasn't a kidnapper, he was a courier. 48 hours later, Ethan convinced his captain to authorize a search of another marked location on the map, Dry Creek Trailhead. The trail was deserted, rain-soaking pine needles. Koda froze near a mossy boulder, barking sharp and urgent. Beneath a layer of soil, Ethan uncovered plywood. Rotten, disturbed recently. Underneath, a concrete hatch. Weapon drawn, flashlight cutting through blackness, Ethan descended into the dark. The smell hit first, mold, sweat, something metallic. Then came the sight. Mattresses, tiny shoes lined against a wall, crayon scribbles, and a whisper. "Is he gone?" From behind a blanket pile, a boy no older than 6, pale, eyes wide. "It's okay," Ethan said softly, lowering his weapon. "I'm Officer Cole. You're safe." The boy's lips trembled. "He said if we screamed, he'd come back." Koda lay down beside him, tail wagging gently. For the first time, the boy smiled. They pulled him out carefully. His name was Toby, missing 6 weeks from Utah. His wristband, number 21. And on the wall, chalked in uneven handwriting, a list of numbers. Some had names, some didn't. The last number? 28. A question mark. Federal agents swarmed in. Interrogations, evidence bags, photos. But Darren stayed silent. No lawyer. No confession. Just cold eyes. Meanwhile, Ethan pieced it together. These weren't ransom jobs. No demands. No money. This was worse. Children disappearing into a network, shuffled through couriers and temporary holding spots, never to be traced. 7 still missing, maybe more. Ethan stood over the board in the precinct late one night, exhaustion tugging at him. Maps, receipts, photos, all blurred together. Koda padded over, staring at the suspect's jacket again. Then he turned, nose to the board, paw resting under a photo of a trailer spotted in Montana months earlier. Ethan stared. The pattern, the roots, the red X's on the map. It all lined up. "Koda," he whispered. "You just cracked it." 2 nights later, acting on the routes Koda had identified, Ethan and a task force raided a storage facility near Spokane. Inside a refrigerated trailer, they found bunks, clothes, tiny backpacks, and children. 4 of them, huddled together, terrified but alive. Koda was the first to reach them. His wagging tail, gentle nudge, and warm presence broke the silence. The kids clung to his fur, whispering through tears. One of them was Lily's little sister. The network wasn't destroyed entirely that night, but it was shattered, and 7 kids went home. Weeks later, the trial began. Darren sat shackled, silent, staring at the floor. And there was Ethan, in full uniform, hand on Koda's back. The prosecutor's voice echoed, "Would you explain to the jury how your canine partner was instrumental in this case?" Ethan nodded, voice steady. "Koda doesn't just track scents. He reads danger. He knew before I did that something was wrong. He didn't just save one child. He uncovered a network that would have kept taking them. He refused to back down when the rest of us saw nothing. Without him, those kids wouldn't be here today." He paused, eyes wet. "He's more than a dog. He's the reason families got their children back." Koda lifted his head, ears twitching. The jury stared in awe. For the first time, Darren's mask cracked. He looked at the shepherd and flinched. Months later, after the convictions, Ethan stood in a hospital room. Koda lay on the bed, muzzle gray, eyes tired. Years of service, countless rescues, one final mission complete. Ethan stroked his fur. "You did it, buddy. You saved them." Koda's tail thumped weakly, then stilled. Tears blurred Ethan's vision. The room was silent except for the steady beep of the monitor until it, too, went flat. Koda's watch had ended. At the memorial, children who had once been numbers on a chalkboard now ran free in the park. Parents held them close. Ethan stood by the statue the city unveiled, a bronze German shepherd, ears up, forever alert. He spoke softly into the microphone. Koda didn't just find missing kids. He reminded us what loyalty looks like, what courage looks like, and that sometimes the quietest hero walks on four legs. He glanced at the crowd, then at the sky. And if you're listening to this story, don't forget, there are still kids out there who need us to pay attention, who need someone to notice what doesn't look right. Be the eyes, be the voice, be the difference. The wind rustled the trees. Somewhere a child laughed. And Ethan knew Koda's story would never die. And that's why we tell these stories. Not just to honor Koda, but to remind ourselves of the power of instinct, loyalty, and courage. If you were moved by this, hit subscribe to our channel, where we share true emotional stories of animals who change lives. Because sometimes the greatest heroes don't wear badges, they wear fur.